Hello everyone, you're welcome to this week's Tech Tuesdays webinar on Reference 360 Cloud Native Self-Service Reference Data Management. I'm Brinda, your host for today's webinar. We have Jyoti Venkatesan, an Informatica veteran, joining us today as a presenter for this webinar. Jyoti has over 20 years of hands-on experience with various Informatica products across different industries. She's currently working as the principal customer success technologist, focusing on customers to have a successful MDM journey. She's also the co-chairperson of Houston Informatica User Group. Before we start this webinar, here are some housekeeping tips. This webinar is for 1 hour, including the 15 minutes Q&A. You can post your queries in the Q&A box. Dial-in participants are muted for this webinar. The session is being recorded and will be available in the Informatica Support YouTube channel and the Success portal. The recording will be emailed to you as well. You can put in your feedbacks and suggestions for the session in the post-webinar survey. The Tech Tuesdays webinar program is hosted within the Success portal. The Informatica Success Portal is a micro-learning platform offering free and unlimited learning to all registered users. This feature-rich platform was launched to help you learn and use Informatica products better. Here are a few important links that you can go over later that will help you in your product adoption journey with Informatica. Over to you, Jyoti. Thank you.
Thanks for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Organizations all over the world are looking for ways to optimize and automate the management of data. Reference data management provides a unique opportunity for these organizations. It helps them solve many data challenges surrounding reporting, compliance with regulations, and data strategy initiatives such as master data management, data warehouse modernization, and more. In this webinar, we will cover what is reference data and what are the challenges faced by organizations with reference data, why it is important to govern and centralize the reference data, key features and capabilities of Reference 360, challenges that you can address using Reference 360, a demo showcasing powerful capabilities of Reference 360, and answer any questions you may have. Let's begin with an overview on why this topic is critical. Business moves fast today, and to support it, you need a finely tuned machine optimized to maneuver quickly, fueled by trusted data at the source, and available at the speed of business. So you can not only accelerate opportunities, but increase productivity and keep things on track. This slide describes the type of data used across organizations. It could be financial, analytical, reference data, business data. Now, let's explore what reference data is. I'm sure you have heard the terms metadata, master data, transactional data in your organization. Let's dig deeper into reference data. Where there is data, there is reference data. Reference data can be hierarchical and could be a set of standardized key business data. Reference data could be public or external, like ISO country codes, currencies, time zones, industry classification, or could be private or internal, like organization hierarchy, cost centers, legal entities, etc. Reference data does not change frequently. It changes over time, and organizations might manage reference data using spreadsheets in silos. Reference data can be anywhere, and there is no systematic approach across enterprise. Hence, this process is completely ad hoc, manual, and this manual reconciliation is a lot of effort across the organization. This slide describes the current situation many companies find themselves in when it comes to managing reference data. As you can see, there is no process for any change at enterprise level with different personas managing reference data. This is completely error-prone with no governance or audit across the systems. This results in duplicate efforts to maintain inconsistent data. Hence, the resulting reports are inaccurate, leading to incorrect business decisions, which result in penalties and loss of revenue. So, why should we govern reference data? To ensure data quality, to avoid inconsistent reporting, and to avoid the penalties due to incorrect reporting when it comes to compliance and audit, and to avoid the operational inefficiencies because of manual effort. This could impact the overall productivity of the organization. And most importantly, to ensure that our customers get a positive experience, which all organizations strive for. And here is our solution to solve these challenges. Informatica Reference 360, which is a cloud-based self-service that organizations use to create, manage, and govern reference data. As you can see in comparison with the prior slide, Reference 360 becomes the single point of interaction with the business user. Change requests are validated and approved in a unified environment. Changes are then deployed to all participating applications on a predefined schedule or on demand. Governance is easily enforced at a single location. Thus, R360 becomes your one-stop shop to manage reference data across the enterprise where business can serve themselves instead of waiting on IT. As you can see, Reference 360 is where all departments in your organization come together. Users would only need access to a browser. Reference 360 is a cloud native and business users can self-service their requests based on their roles and licenses. Reference data is critical for data integration and organizations can publish and manage reference data from R360. Thus, R360 provides accurate internal and external reporting where we can define, manage, and secure reference datasets to ensure accurate data is used in compliance with regulations and transactions. Remove reference data inconsistencies in enterprise applications and the operational overhead involved in managing reference data. Take a holistic approach to reference data management to ensure reference data is clean and leads to accurate external reporting, data interchange, publishing, and entitlements. R360 empowers business users and improves productivity. It helps gain competitive and compliance advantage with a robust, flexible, reliable framework that provides a 360-degree version of the truth of reference data across an enterprise. Enable business owners to strategically manage reference datasets, hierarchies, and crosswalks through a user-friendly interface for self-serving reference data. An enterprise-ready, flexible, and extensible end-to-end solution is able to manage the complex lifecycle of reference datasets. R360 removes operational overhead and inefficiencies. The user-friendly configurable dashboards let organizations control the quality and govern the complete lifecycle of reference datasets. Manage reference data history, catalogs, and versions. Allow authoring of reference data using configurable workflows and measuring the business impact. As a cloud-based solution, R360 accelerates time to value from your data initiatives. It is designed for enterprise scalability in a cloud environment to meet the most demanding business initiatives and deliver rapid value. R360 delivers better customer experience. It centralizes the reference data critical to your organization. Industry-specific data connectors and adapters help to standardize, cleanse, and stitch together data from internal and external data sources for a complete Business 360 view. Leave the reference data in the hands of business users through a self-service portal that exposes customer details and the links among the people, places, and things that matter most in every industry. We have positive feedback on the product from our current customers across finance, healthcare, oil and gas, legal, to name a few industries. Every company faces the need to do the routine changes like adding a new department or project or even changing those dimensions. Then they start to face business transformations like migration to the cloud or a merger, and then find out how valuable having an application like Reference 360 can be for their organization. Now, let's dive into the details of the features of Reference 360. Here are some of the key features: Smart search for reference data, easy hierarchy visualization and management, in-place import and export using Excel, easy visualization of complex data structure, integrated and configurable workflow, out-of-the-box side-by-side comparison, drafting, and versioning, and it includes data integration using IACS and CAI. Like we already saw, the benefits would be purpose-built for reference data, accelerate cloud deployment, business user-friendly experience, enable self-service capabilities, and faster time to market with simple UI configuration, managed upgrades that you do not need to worry about, and high availability. Here are the included capabilities that can be used in conjunction with R360, but always check with your account manager on what you are licensed for. When you log into Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services, the My Services page displays the services that your organization is licensed to use and any common services that are available under the same license, such as administrator. The image shows an example of My Service page. To use Reference 360, click Reference 360. Use the Explore page to find and work with your assets in Reference 360. We will explore all of these in detail in the demo, but want to go over some key concepts so that you can watch out for them at the demo. Depending on the user privileges, create reference data sets to categorize the reference data in your organization. Reference data sets contain code lists, and code lists contain code values that you can create or import from a source application. You can create code lists in reference data sets. Create a crosswalk to map code values in a source code list to code values in a target code list. Value mappings provide a way to translate code values in one code list to code values in another code list. Create hierarchies to show how code values are related to other code values. First, define the hierarchy model and then add code values to the hierarchy to define relationships between the code values. All reference data in R360 is categorized under reference data sets. You create a reference data set to contain a category of reference data, such as country codes or currency codes. In a reference data set, you create code lists. Code lists contain a set of code values that you create or import from a source application. You create code lists in reference data sets. A code list inherits its structure definition and attributes from the reference dataset. You can create code values or import code values into a code list. A code value is a unique value such as a business term, code, or lookup value. Code values are organized into code lists. Each code list contains code values from a singular source application or industry standard list. A crosswalk is a visual representation of a one-way relationship between code values in a pair of code lists. A reference dataset can contain many code lists, and each code list contains a variation of the same type of code values. Crosswalks provide a way to translate between the different variations each code list uses. Create a crosswalk to map code values in a source code list to code values in a target code list. Value mappings provide a way to translate code values in one code list to code values in another code list. Create hierarchies to show how code values are related to other code values. First, define the hierarchy model and then add code values to the hierarchy to define relationships between code values. When you view a hierarchy, you can see the code lists associated to the hierarchy in the Explore panel. In the Details panel, you can view the hierarchy model on the Definition tab and the code values in the hierarchy on the Hierarchy tab. For example, you might create a location hierarchy. First, you define the hierarchy model. You define the region code list as the top level code list. Then you create a parent-child relationship from the region code list to the enterprise country codes list. Based on this hierarchy model, in the hierarchy, you create a hierarchy relationship from the North America code value to the United States code value. At reference 360, when you create a draft and propose changes, your edits are associated to the draft version. When you are done editing, you send your proposed changes for approval. This creates a task and initiates an approval workflow. Users that are assigned the business steward stakeholder role for the code list are notified of the task. They are responsible for reviewing proposed changes. If the changes are appropriate, the business steward accepts and publishes the changes, and they become part of the published version. An approver might send back the edits for additional changes or reject the changes if they are not necessary. As you can see, every change is color-coded. You can compare the draft version of a code list with the published version. When you view a comparison, changed code values are highlighted so that you can evaluate if the changes are correct. You can view a comparison when you compare your draft with the published version, send a draft for approval, or review an approved task. Deleted code value is in red, edited code value is in yellow, moved code value in blue, and new code value in green. Thus, every change is governed across your entire enterprise by your business users. And any system in your enterprise must be integrated with Reference 360 through APIs. Reference data can be imported into R360 using the UI or API and exported through the APIs. Screenshot gives the list of APIs available with R360. Now let's move on to the demo of Reference 360 to see its powerful capabilities. This is the Informatica Intelligent Cloud Services login page. I am logging in as a business user now. And this is where we are going to be clicking on to reference 360. And as a business user today, I want to make some changes to some of the data that I have. And if I click on show all services, it's going to show me all the services that are available. But obviously, if they are grayed out, it means I'm not licensed to use those services. But now let's go ahead and click on reference 360 here. Okay, so this is the Explore panel where the business user would have access to all the reference data sets that he needs to work with. And this is the smart search feature that he or she could use. And also in this panel, you will see explore, task, import, and search. And right now I have logged in as a business user. But if the other goal behind this demo is also to showcase how your view would change depending on how you log in, because I'm going after the business user demo piece, I'm also going to be logging in as the data steward. So I'm able to show you that there is also a new option here where I'm able to create new hierarchies, new crosswalks by clicking on that button. Just watch out for it when I log in as the data steward. But now let's go through as a business user, what I wanted to show you are a couple of things. Like say, for example, here, this is the smart search capability. Let's say I want to search on expense, and I say, so here is the smart search output where you will see the output is on all kind of entity types, reference data set, code list, values, hierarchy. So you can go ahead and filter further on any specific entity type that the business user may be interested in. So that is the smart search feature that you have. And now when I go back into the Explore, let me go ahead and make some changes to chart of accounts, and I'm going to show you this particular enterprise chart of accounts here. And let's go ahead and click on open. So this is where you will see the reference data that is available for me in case I do not want to navigate through so many layers. I can always go in and do a quick find here and say expense, and then it is going to show you where all expense is available in the entire values that we have. So this is one thing that I wanted to show. And also, if I want to go ahead and export the values, I can go ahead and click on this. So I can say, okay, export it. Demo, include hierarchy, and then I'm fine with comma separated, and then I say export, and then the data gets exported. So it gets exported. So that's one thing I wanted to show. And now let's say I want to go and make some changes, right? So if at all I want to do that, this particular process, like we discussed during our explanation, this process is governed. So whenever I make any changes, it's going to trigger an approval process. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and click on create draft. So the moment I clicked on create draft, you would notice that this send for approval button pops up, which means that once I am done with my changes, it is going to go ahead and send the changes to my manager or to whomever I had set up for approval. So let's go ahead and make some changes here under the operating expense accounts. So I am here and I am going into the employee personal expenses, and this is where I am going to add a few more expenses. So let's go ahead and say add, and in here let me go ahead, could be anything. I'm just, and then the code value, let's say, go ahead and add some description to it. Okay, and then here are all the drop downs that you see, because I have set up these attributes as reference data. The reason I wanted to do it that way was this department ID is being maintained by another department in my organization, and whatever changes that department makes, I want those to be available here right away dynamically. So that's why I've set it up like this for this particular attribute. So I can go ahead and pick the department, and the rest of it, of course, you can always go ahead and pick whatever you like. But for now, for the purposes of this demo, I'm fine with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and save. So we have made the change. We have added this particular data here, telecommunication, and it is reflecting like this here. And also the one other thing I wanted to call out is there is this feature called compare with public version. Let's go ahead and click on it to see how it shows up. So like we had discussed already, any changes are going to be in green, edits in yellow, deletes in red, and moved if you made any movements here. So that's going to be if you moved any of the value from one nesting to another, that's going to show up as a move here in blue. So what we have added here is showing up as new in the draft version, and it is in green. And I can always check off this show only changes box so that I'm able to understand the context of where I have made the change. And now I'm like, oh, okay, it's under operating expense and it falls in this tree. Okay, I'm fine with that. So I'm going to say, okay. And for whatever reason, I am not happy with the change. As you're aware, you can always say discard draft, and it's going to discard whatever changes you made. But for now, I'm okay with this. So I'm going to go ahead and say send for approval. I clicked on send for approval now. And here again, it is showing me the due date. So I can go ahead and pick the due date as tomorrow, because this needs to be approved quickly. So I'm just putting in whatever comments, and then here again, this is another chance for me to look through where it's comparing the versions. Now I'm going to say send for approval. All right, now here you will notice that it is saying pending approval. So the draft version of the score list is pending approval. And whenever I send anything for approval, I'll receive an email like this where it is saying request approval for code list changes to enterprise chart of accounts. So it's going to send me this email so that because in this demo, obviously the person that's making the change and the approver is the same, which is me. So I received the email, but in a real enterprise scenario, your boss or your business steward would have received this email asking for approval. So this is how the email is going to look. All right, so that is one thing I wanted to show. And other than this, you will also notice that there is this history here where if you clicked on the history, it's going to show all of who changed it from what value to what value, and it was modified by you who, and also you start noticing the approved by will also be filled. And right, so this is one piece which is very helpful when it comes to audits. And of course the stakeholders, which you can always set up. And other than this, the crosswalk, of course, we'll come back to the crosswalk in a few minutes. And after looking at all this, you change your mind and you do not want to send this for approval, you can always go ahead and click cancel approval request. But for now, I'm quite happy with the changes I've done, so I'm going to go ahead and leave the approval request as is. And because I have asked for approval and the change is pending approval, I'll go in here and you will notice that there is a tiny little lock indicating that there have been some changes in here and it is pending approval. All right, so now let's go ahead and log out of here and then log in as the business steward. So I am going to go ahead and log out. Let me log in as my boss, who is going to approve the data change that has been done by my subordinate. Similarly, show all services. Yeah, if I'm not licensed, it's all grayed out, just like how you saw in the other screen. So I am going to go ahead and click on 360. I have logged in now. So just like how we talked about earlier, you will notice a new button here because I have access to do a few more things that my subordinate could not. So here are the things that we are going to be talking about as well in this demo. But yeah, these are the things that I am allowed to do because of this particular login. Okay, and if I click on task, you will notice that the change I showed you now, so it is appearing right here. Whatever new addition I made, it is showing up right here for me. And as you can see, I can always approve, reject, or send back. But for now, I knew this was going to come up, so I want to proceed with this change. And there is also this little flag where you will see the notifications. So I'm going to go ahead and approve it because I know my team needs this. Okay. Say approved. All right, because I cleared the task, and this is the notification part that I was talking about. You will see a lot of notifications here, but for the purpose of this demo, the one that we took care of is the task that I wanted to show. And once it is approved, again, there will be an email sent out like this saying approved changes, codeless changes to enterprise chart of account. So it has been approved, requested, and then comments approved. So you will also receive an email like this. All right, so we talked about the approval, and also the one thing that I thought we should talk through. I know we spoke about the export side of things, but let's also talk through the import. So if we go through here, so we go ahead and show a couple of things here which you will look for. Like say for example, here is where this is the export value piece, And like we talked about, you can always use this particular filter and then type in anything that you may want to find quickly. And there is also the import values, where if you click here, right, it lets you import any CSV file or anything that you may need. So you could just go ahead, choose a file, open, and then you will see that it lets you preview the data. Right? So it lets you preview the data. But for this demo, I'm not going to go through this because I don't want to. My flow of thought is towards showing you the actual changes in Crosswalk. So, but you do have the option in case you want to go through an import of an external data. But we can go ahead and cancel this for now. And here you will notice that if I clicked on any particular value here, you will see summary, and you will also see the history behind modified by, approved by, and you will also see the relationship. So here you will see that 131027, the children is mapped here, and you will notice the parent is here 131943, and this is mapped to PeopleSoft, SAP, and Workday. People find this pictorial representation very helpful as they work through reference data. So just wanted to call that out. And let's look into the crosswalk on how we want to map this, right? So I have now clicked on Crosswalk, and this is how the value mapping looks like. Say for example, within my organization I have SAP, PeopleSoft, Workday, and I have added this new value here, but I want to ensure it is mapped into my other systems across the organization. So if I click here, under the employee personal expenses, you will notice that telecommunication has not been mapped because this is the one that I just added. So let's go ahead and map this. So the moment I say open Crosswalk, it is going to ask me which one we want to map it to, because it has already picked the sources. We have already picked the sources enterprise chart of accounts, and we want to map it. I'm going to go ahead and pick PeopleSoft. And let's go into value mappings. Because I know it was telecom, I'm just going to go ahead and search on telecom. All right, so now we see it, right? So I feel better to see it with the context. Like I mentioned before, sometimes I find that very helpful when I work through reference data. So I'm going to go through this expense and then employee personal expense. And here is the one that I wanted to map to PeopleSoft, which is empty at this point, and the target code list from PeopleSoft is available for me here. I'm going to go ahead and search on telecom here. All right, so I do see that PeopleSoft has these values for telecom. So I feel fine about this. So I'm just going to go ahead and map this to the new telecom that I've created. So now I have created the crosswalk and I mapped the telecom that I created to the PeopleSoft. So this is how you would use a crosswalk. And like we already talked about, you can always export, you can always import. So this looks pretty good to me as of now. Then we can click on the summary and all of these are history and everything we already spoke about. All right. And then I wanted to talk about the hierarchy, where if you, let's say you have a hierarchy, you want to create a hierarchy, right? It could be regions, country, city. So let me go ahead and create a hierarchy, and I'm going to say open hierarchy. Then in here, this is calling it out as undefined because I am not really attached it to anything. So for now, I believe we can go ahead and, for the demo purposes, we can go ahead and attach it to region code. And I can always expand on this and then pick region. Probably there is a sub-region out here that I could pick. So go ahead and pick the sub-region. And region, we could go country, and here keep adding as we like country, and then we could go state, and then we could do the city. So this is how you pretty much create a hierarchy. Go ahead and save. All right, so we talked about, just to recap, we talked about the smart search, we have talked about the hierarchy, we spoke about import and export, and we spoke about the color-coded comparison whenever there are changes, and we spoke about the workflow process where the team makes a change and then the team sends for approval, and then the changes get approved. And then we spoke about crosswalk, and also you will notice that because the change has been approved, I go in here, you will see that little lock that was there in enterprise chart of accounts has gone away now. That pretty much brings us to the end of the demo. I really hope you found this demo very helpful. With that, we are now open for Q&A.
Hello everyone, please post your questions in the Q&A box. We'll try and answer them. The recording for this session will be available in the Informatica Support YouTube channel and the Success portal. You will also be able to download the PDF for this webinar from the Success portal. Hi Jyoti, we have one question from John.
Hey, John, I do see your question. How is the reference data then used in other products like BDM, such as a labeler transformation? So you would have to access the reference data through APIs, John. So as mentioned in one of the slides, there are a list of APIs that are available. So you would have to build it out using the API.
Thank you, Jyoti. After this webinar, please post your feedbacks and suggestions in the survey that follows. We would like to hear from you. Please post your questions in the Q&A box. Sorry, Jyoti, you were saying something?
I was saying the same thing. If there are questions, posted in the Q&A box so that we could take them.
Hey, Jyoti, we have one question from Turab.
Right, how to integrate with Power Center, right? So this, like we discussed at the webinar, the way you can access the data, typically it would be best through APIs. And the moment you say Power Center, I'm wondering if you are talking to batch process. So if you're asking about the batch way to integrate with this, then it would be a good idea for you to import the data into your local database if that's what you are trying to achieve, because the question just says how to integrate with Power Center. So there are different ways to integrate the data, reference data, when you're managing it through R360. Because R360 is at enterprise level, it is going to be accessible through the URL for all your business users across the enterprise, and they are going to be managing the data by themselves instead of waiting on IT. But having said that, IT would have to ensure that data is available. If we are talking real time, then you would obviously build the APIs with what we provide, so you are able to integrate it through the APIs, or you are able to through the CDI and CAI that you have. And even the moment you say Power Center, if you're talking batch mode of access, which is what I am thinking you're trying to get at, but I do not have more information in the question. But if you're trying to access it through the batch mode, then your option would be to export the data, import it into your local database, and then it is accessed from your Power Center. If not, you can always access through the APIs. I hope that answers your question. But of course, if you have the cloud products, CDI, CAI, and when you purchase reference data, there will be minimal application, minimal usage that is also available for you with reference 360, the CDI and CAI, which you are able to utilize as well.
Thanks, Jyoti. Let's wait for some more time before we can end this webinar. Everybody, please post your questions here. Jyoti is here to answer your questions. Also, please don't forget to put in your feedbacks and suggestions in the post-webinar survey. Looks like we have answered most of the questions, Jyoti. If we have failed to answer any of your questions, we will definitely get back to you after this session. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Jyoti, for your valuable time for this webinar. Thanks everyone. See you on our next Tech Tuesdays. Bye.
Absolutely. And just one thing I wanted to add, Vrinda, if the attendees are able to think of more questions after the webinar, that's absolutely fine. Please do reach out to me either through your account manager, or you can see my email ID in the presentation deck that's available from where you registered. So it's absolutely fine if you are able to think of more questions later on, and you can always reach out to me through your account manager. Thank you all so much for your time. Like we discussed through the presentation, this is one of the upcoming products, and this is the direction to go for managing reference data, cloud native and self-service at your enterprise level with your business users. Thank you all so much for your time.
Wow. Thanks, Jyoti. Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for joining. Bye.
Bye.